fellow Toastmasters. Back in the 1980s, my wife and I were living in the state of Georgia. I was working on a nuclear power plant near Augusta in the resident engineering office. I got a phone call from San Francisco, and they said, we have a new contract position, and we'd like you to go to it. It's for a senior mechanical engineer who has nuclear power plant operating experience, and you fit the bill, and it's in a new construction site in South Korea. And it's a pretty tough assignment, but you'll be willing to go. I talked to my wife, and we said, yeah, we'll go. We should all have a map of Korea that was passed out. And the plant name was Youngwon. And the upper map is on the left-hand corner. New plant, so-called greenfield plant, nothing nearby. And we're building a 2-unit plant with plans for great expansion. There's now 6 units at that plant. We accepted. Oh, it's a big rush. Our passports were already. Bechtel did the documentation. We were in Georgia. Our home was in Concord. Things went to storage in Georgia, car in storage. You had to get a lot of shots. Fortunately, I could go to the Army Hospital and get them. My wife wanted to go see the children and grandchildren. And about 10 days later, we met in Seattle. I had all the documents. Seattle SeaTac. 12-hour flight to Seoul. Fortunately, business class. Yeah, a lot of extra baggage. Yeah, we arrived in Seoul late at night. Headed to go to a hotel. Very short night. First thing in the morning, back to the airport. Domestic flight down to a city called Gwangju, which shows on your lower map there in the lower left. Is the only large city nearby. And we arrived there. Driver waiting for us with the van. Korean driver, spoke some English, and about an hour-and-a-half drive over 2 mountain ranges, winding road down to the seashore. They called it a construction camp, though it was very permanent. They built a lot of new concrete apartment buildings. These were the homes for the new power plant operators, but a group of them were reserved for the Bechtel people. The plant was designed by Bechtel in Norwalk, California. It was a plant by Westinghouse. The constructor was Hyundai Company in Korea. Bechtel was the construction manager. So Bechtel on site had about 40 people, mostly construction superintendents, a few design engineers, startup engineers, and I was assigned to startup. The main building of our interest on this group of 20 buildings was the Bechtel Club. Had a concrete building, 2 stories tall, restaurant downstairs, bar upstairs, dance floor, big projection TVs, small library run by volunteers, had some tennis courts, there's squash courts, and that was our main home. And a block away was a grocery store run by an electric company, KEPCO, Korea Electric Power Company, was a Korean grocery store. You kind of guessed at what it said, looked by, if there's a bottle, what it looked like. Surprisingly, the Korean equivalent of Clorox comes in a white plastic jug because we're supposed to wash all our fresh produce in Clorox water. And we all did, and had no problems. Work assignments, I was working in the office with all mechanical Korean engineers. They gave me a desk next to the supervisor, and I spent 2 years answering questions. People would be lined up. Everybody spoke a little bit of English. Their contract language was English. Every people with the manual, with the drawing. What does this mean? I don't understand this. How do I do this? Sometimes they have to walk out in the power plant to find what their question was. Some of the questions are very good. Some very involved for several days of walking around and finding what's wrong. But it's very challenging. I enjoyed it. But camp life gets a little boring after a while. You have the same 40 people. You got to wait for them at the bus stop in the morning. You go to the plant, go take the bus home for lunch. Go back in the afternoon, you see pay people all the time, if you go up to the club for lunch, or dinner, they're there, same families. They try to entertain the families. They ran a bus to a farmer's market, Mondays and Fridays in a town nearby, young one. On Wednesdays, I ran a bus to the airport, for the big city in Gwangju. There were some department stores, they had foreign food stores and so on in there, luxury foods mostly, plus year-old potato chips. And every 2 months, they ran a big Greyhound bus for the wives to Seoul for a 3-day trip. It was a 6-hour drive to Seoul. Wives went, took the kids sometimes to be on their own, they did shopping, they all enjoyed it, filled it up. Once a year, they did it on a long weekend, so the men got to go. We worked a 6-day week. They often had to stay late. It was demanding hours, but it was kind of enjoyable, resolving. They paid us extra, and was the way things worked out. It's all tax-free, but they're long enough, so. And then housing was provided, so it had incentives, and we enjoyed it. My wife played an awful lot of bridge. And did enough that I went back again several years to different type of assignments. So it's challenging work, got to meet the culture, and we made one trip to Busan, a couple-day vacation. Otherwise, didn't do much. We're too far to, it took 6 hours to get to town, and it was pretty costly to do a lot of travel. It was enjoyable, and my wife says she helped earn the money.